Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, November 8th, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Mr. Jonah Booker in just a moment. Jay Book and I are going to look ahead to what we really want to see the most tomorrow, in addition to a win from the Buckeyes. And we're going to give our predictions and much more. Take a look around the national championship landscape. How many teams are legit national championship contenders in Jay Book's mind? I'm curious to get his take. And we'll, of course, talk about the best movie of all time, Major League. No, we're not going to do that. But I'm going to tell you guys about Factor meals and a great deal you guys can get, 50% off. You guys notice how the days are shorter, but your to-do lists are not? Power through your busy days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. From breakfast to dinner and anything in between, Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Whether you like routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 different delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenience options you can add to your box, like smoothies. Don't let shorter days slow you down. Stay energized with America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. I highly recommend Factor to you guys, as I've mentioned. I love it. Head to factormeals.com/Bucknuts50 and use code Bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code Bucknuts50 at factormeals.com/Bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Jay Book, great to see you on a Friday as always, my friend.
Happy Friday, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. As long as I don't think about my NFL team, everything's
I know
good.
it. Hey, poor Bengals, man. Tough break at the end. I thought they had the Ravens on the ropes and the refs bailed them out.
I'm used to it. I'm numb to it, man. It's just being a Bengals fan at this point. I'm just numb to it. Same. It's just like the first game this year against the Ravens, pretty much. I don't know how Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are playing like at MVP levels, and they're sitting there at 4-6.
I know it. It's crazy. And you know the ironic thing is I'm playing against Jamar Chase in fantasy football. Boy, what a hole I'm in to start the week off. I mean, he put up almost 300 receiving yards, 3 TDs, something like crazy. I think he was like 268, 270 or something. It's up there.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Oh well. We'll get him next year. Probably not. All right. Well, let's do this. Do you want me to go first with the prediction? Do you want to write your prediction down? How do you want to do this?
I'll go first.
All right, you go first, and then I have mine already typed in. All right.
All right. And I just finished my questions for the Bucknuts staff article, and I just sent it off to Pat Murphy to put on the board this morning, and I ended with my prediction: 51 Buckeyes, 7 Purdue. I think Purdue might find like a garbage touchdown there at the end. If this game goes the way I think it's going to go, Dave, you're probably going to see a lot of the key starters pulled out in the third quarter there. You're going to get some of the backups in the game. And at that point, that's when I could see Purdue squeaking out a late garbage touchdown.
We're pretty close. I have 45-6.
Woo! Very close.
Yes, very
51-7. So we're right there.
Let me type that. I got to get this typed in here. J Book's prediction 51. I love it. We're back on like pretty much not identical, but pretty much like the same score like that. Do I have to put Ohio State in here? Does that really do we really need Ohio State? We're not picking Purdue to win 51-7. So yeah, I mean, so what do you want to see the most? Obviously, we want to see the biggest thing we want to see is a win. What do you want to see the most tomorrow?
Well, you're feeling good coming out of Penn State. That was a big boy win on the road, and the program showed a lot of heart. Coming out of that Penn State game, and you look at this game, and then you look at the Purdue game, and the Northwestern game, excuse me. I think the biggest thing for me is now is the time for them to start playing some of their best football. You want to see this football team building major momentum heading into a potential top 10 matchup against Indiana at home. You want to come out of this Purdue game feeling really good about the direction the team is headed. As you know, as the old saying goes, November is for contenders. So you set yourself up with the opportunity to really build some confidence and some serious momentum after the way that you won at Penn State. That's the first thing for me is build on that last game, really start to ride that wave as a program going into the last 2 games of the season. The second thing is continue to rotate the players. Jack Sawyer and JT, and we have been talking about it all season. Ryan Day going into that Penn State game said he wanted a deeper rotation. He said it multiple times throughout the week to the media. JT and Jack Sawyer had a 30% reduction in snap counts against Penn State. You probably want to see that go a little lower. I think they were both around 44 snaps. You probably want to knock off about 4 to 5 more snaps. Don't get them over 40 snaps a game. Give those reps to Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry, who've been playing really well, as well as Caden McDonald, who's playing outstanding football. So rotate the guys. When you look at the Penn State game, including the special teams, Dave, you had over 50 guys play in the Penn State game. I think it was 21 guys who played actual snaps on defense. I think it was 17 or 18 on offense, and then a lot of young guys on the special team. So whenever you can get 50 guys live reps in a top 5 matchup on the road, that's pretty darn good. Now you got the opportunity against Purdue and Northwestern to really build on that and let those younger guys get more live reps. Because the one thing that I saw, Dave, and what really made me proud against Penn State, you look at Caden McDonald, you look at Hero Canoe, Jermaine Matthews, Brandon Ennis, Jelani Thurman. The list can go on and on. Bennett Christian, all young guys whose number was called and they stepped up. So that's huge for those younger guys. They just need the opportunity to get out there and do their thing. And if the coaches can continue to expand on that, it's really going to help these guys down the stretch, because the model that we talked about in the summer still holds true right now, and it's never going to change in this new format. Fresh legs and the healthiest team, that will be the team that makes the deepest run in the national championship.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I mean, well said. I want to see a lot of young guys tomorrow. Yeah. I'm not even a huge Devin Brown fan, but I want to see him in the third quarter. As long as it means that Big Willie style is not hurt or something. As long as it's like Will is just resting, and then they get Devin Brown in there in the third quarter. I want to see some Julian Sand tomorrow. Yeah. We'll see a lot of young guys. All right.
You know what, Dave? I want to go at that game feeling darn good. It was like, yep, they're starting to get their stride. So let's turn over to that Michigan-Indiana game and watch Indiana put belt to butt on Michigan tomorrow.
I know that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to watch that game. I mean, Indiana favored by 14.5, ranked 8th in the country in the CFP. Whoever would have thought we'd see that in our lifetimes. All right. So how you feel? I mean, obviously the offensive line situation went very well at Penn State with Donovan Jackson at left tackle, Carson Hinsman at left guard. We can get into what took so long with Hinsman, you know, the 8-game suspension, as I'm calling it, the secret suspension. But really, they look good. Are you feeling good about that moving forward as well?
I feel really good about where they're at, Dave. I do think that it kind of changes the offense, and it might be changing it for the better. What I mean by that is you're not going to be as good pass pro, obviously, with Jackson out there at the tackle position. I thought, for all things considering, he held his own. I know PFF gave him a 0 as far as pass grade. I strongly disagree with that. When you're watching that all 22 tape, yeah, there were, a couple times where he gave up some pressures, and I think 2 sacks to Abdul Carter, but I thought Jackson played fairly well, all things considering. But when you have basically 3 guards on the field in Seth and only 1 true tackle, you're going to be much better at running the football. They're going to be better at passing off those double teams, getting up to the second level, and just being absolutely junkyard dogs in the trenches. So I think you're probably going to see, for the better, a team that now relies more on the run game, and then you're going to have, your occasional shots down the field like you saw against Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. They weren't able to hit them, but I think it really is really going to help this team late in November and December by being a physical, nasty, upfront, rush primarily, 60-40 type of rushing team. I think that's the difference that you're going to see with this change in the offensive line. And Carson Hinsman, I mean, I don't get it, Dave. Like you said, 8-game suspension. I thought he played extremely well. The biggest thing for him was he played with some passion. He played with some fire. And him and Donovan Jackson, if you watch it, their communication was really, really good. And I think Hinsman talked about it post game, and he said because him and Jackson played right next to each other, all of those games last year, their communication was kind of picked up right where it left off. So they were able to really do a stellar job communicating and passing off twists and passing off some stunts and stuff like that. So he's only going to get better. But I was pleasantly surprised how well he played with his first start at the left guard position.
I'm going to talk about Jim Knowles a little bit. Another one of the questions that we answered for our roundtable, we were talking about, the defense, and I was, I answered the question. I'll just give the people a heads up on this. I answered it like what I'm seeing from this defense now is Jim Knowles is truly the head coach of the defense. What do I mean by that? They've been saying he is. There seems to be like was an obvious disconnect between what Knowles wanted to do and what LJ wanted to do. You and I have talked about that ad nauseum. Now what are we seeing? If you pop on the tape of his old Oklahoma State defenses, it's exactly what we see the last 2 games from Ohio State, just better players doing it.
Right.
Whereas it looked like more like of a hybrid of what he did at Oklahoma State and a hybrid of what LJ's always done. It feels like the Oregon game changed everything. Where Ryan Day finally, I don't know why it took 2.5 years for him finally to say, Jim, just do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
But now I'm seeing a lot of what Oklahoma State did when he had them as one of the best defenses in the nation, but now he's got better players. And one more thing I want to say, Jay, but before I turn it over to you, have you noticed how Oklahoma State's defense has gotten progressively worse since Knowles has left?
Yeah.
They're one of the best defenses in the country. They are one of the worst defenses in the country now. And each year they've gotten worse since he's left, and each year Ohio State gets better. I love Jim Knowles, not just because he's a dance freak. No, I'm kidding. But your thoughts on the defense, and do you agree that are you seeing like that Knowles is now able to do what he wants to do?
Hey, Jim Knowles was getting down in the locker room post game, man. He was showing some moves to the old, grizzled Zen cigar smoking, vegan eating guy he was getting down in the locker room. I thought that was great. But as far as the defense, Penn State said that Ohio State did a lot of things up front that they have yet to see on film, and it really threw them for a loop, especially when it came to slowing down their rushing attack. So that was cool to hear from Penn State saying, yeah, they did some things that we haven't seen on film yet. So I think that he implemented more of what they were trying to do for that game. And I was surprised that Ryan Day came to the media and actually admitted that they rebuilt the defense because they kind of took a look in the mirror and said, hey, this 4-man every down, no twists, no stunts, just bull rushing your defensive ends upfield is not going to get it done after that Oregon game. I think Nick Saban's comments probably also played a role in there as well because, him saying their defense and their scheme was antiquated. I think it kind of put a little sense of urgency on those guys. Now,
that's a great point.
I think his defense has unlocked Cody Simon. He's playing outstanding, Dave. I mean, Cody Simon is playing at an all Big Ten level right now, playing above his skeezers, as they would say right now, because he's a talented kid, but the linebacker play from him, and Sonny's playing much better as the season progresses as well. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play out over the next several weeks. I don't think you really have to do a whole lot against Purdue and Northwestern. You can probably set in your base defense for the entire game and still shut those guys out if you really wanted to put the vice grips on their neck. But I truly think that Jim Knowles and those guys self-scouting and saying we need to rebuild and kind of getting back to the exotic looks and the exotic fronts that you saw up against when he was at Oklahoma State, that might be the catalyst, Dave, to getting those guys into the Big Ten championship and potentially a first-round bye.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to Nick Saban. I think if it was anybody else, like, a former coach, name a former coach who's in the media, Rick
Right.
Neuheisel, or, I don't know if Jimbo Fisher's in the media, but name a former coach. They probably been like, I don't care what this guy thinks. The
Yeah.
GOAT says it. And by the way, he's not just the GOAT. What's his preference of the side of the ball? Defense. He's a defensive guy all the way. So, yeah, maybe he woke them up a little bit.
I think, and then I would say this, Dave, before we go on. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I think it really annoyed Ryan Day that he had to go spend that week babysitting the defense after Oregon. I think that the last thing he wants to do is sit in there with those guys trying to mediate the differences between Larry and Jim. But I will have to say, if you take anything from that Penn State game, it's clear to me that Jim Knowles won that fight or the battle, whatever they had going on. You saw more of a rotation from your defensive line. As I mentioned earlier, you had a 30% reduction in snap counts from Sawyer and JT. And you're starting to see more than just your four-man traditional rush that Larry likes. You're starting to see more of what Jim Knowles was doing at Oklahoma State. So if you look at those two major data points, that right there tells me that Jim Knowles won that battle internally.
And then he danced his butt off. That was so funny. It's so funny. I mean, seeing like just old guys dance like rap anyway has always been funny.
I had to rewind it. I was like, is that Jim Knowles going in there?
Do you see him like pushing people away to get in too? He was just like, I got this. They didn't have to like pull him in there. He's like he's like pulling people away so he can get in the middle and show off his dance moves, getting down, getting low. He's got some Philly in him. I said this on the show the other day. Like Ryan Day dances sometimes, but he's got a lot of New Hampshire in him. Yeah. Too much New Hampshire. He's got a lot of Philly in him still. So that
trailer that the the football media team released Penn State, I think it's like a 5 to 7 minute trailer. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal, and I thought it was great on the sidelines. Like when they do that, they kind of give you a peek behind the curtain at some of the personalities on the team. I thought it was absolutely great that they're on the sidelines right after that goal line stand, and when Caden McDonald just absolutely destroyed Penn State center, blew him back like 5 yards. They show him on the sidelines. Larry Johnson has the tablet in his hand. They're reviewing it, and JT is just screaming, and he punches Caden McDonald. He's like, "Way to step up, K-Mac. Way to step up." And you just see like the fire, and K-Mac is just bulldogging the face like, But I thought that was absolutely phenomenal that they were able to get a glimpse of that. And then what we talked about, Dave, we wanted to see the fire. We wanted to see the passion. We wanted to see the veteran leaders over there rallying those young guys like, let's go. And when they released that clip, you saw it. You saw Will over there like firing them up. You saw Junkins was over there firing people up on the sidelines. Like, let's go. Take it to him. Let's go. JT's over there yelling. And I'm just thinking, it's like, missed that, man. I missed that. That gave me chills. I was like, if they can ride that wave over these next several weeks and those guys start really believing each other and they start playing at the high level. That's why I said this Penn State game, not only was the win big, but how they won is something that you can really build on.
And the attitude we saw from the offensive line, like when they were just mauling people and they were like talking about it. I love that.
I mean, Carson Hinsman was celebrating after Will Howard's 5-yard sneak on the 1-yard line.
Right. I mean, seriously, that was huge to get out of there like that. And then Quinshon, I've been saying Quinshon's good, but I need to see him break more tackles. The next play, he breaks a tackle and goes for like 11 yards. It's like, bam. Yeah. They're already outside. You're just hoping at that point, obviously, if you're back up to the 1, just get it out of there, get a first down or 2 and then punt it back, and then they keep it for 11 plays. And I loved it, man. I love just everything I just love the energy I see from this team and how they're
here's a funny story together. For you, Dave. After the game, I think it was like Sunday. I was like, oh, I got a little hour to kill some time. So I'll go over to the Michigan boards where they always have like a massive game thread where all of their members are watching other games, commenting on their board. They're all dialed into this Penn State, Ohio State game. And on that last drive, you can just feel the blood boiling from the Michigan fans to the point to where they were all complaining that the refs will not call a taunting penalty because Quinshon Judkins was running people over, and some of their comments were said, "I can't believe they just keep letting Judkins bark like a dog out there on the field as he's running people over. Can they please just throw a flag, like begging for Ohio State to get a taunting penalty? Because on that last drive, Judkins was out there fired up, Henderson was fired up, the offensive line was out there fist pumping, head butting each other, and the Michigan faithful was like, I can't believe they're letting those guys just taunt their way all the way down the field."
They better worry about their own house. I tell you what, Michigan. Not and on the field here. I mean, we're counting down the days, man. 22 days and counting. Jim Tressel knows, and I know as well. There's 22 days till they're gonna get their medicine. I can't wait. All right, we're gonna finish the show talking about. I want to get J Book's thoughts on how many legit national championship contenders are there. It seemed for a while we were saying things like, man, it could be like 8 to 10. Now I'm down to thinking maybe it's Ohio State and Oregon the way Carson Beck looks at Georgia. I'm curious to get J Book's thoughts on that. Before we do that, I want to let you know about our friends at Gooder Sunglasses. Love Gooder Sunglasses, as you guys know. And we're happy to welcome them back to the show as a sponsor. It means you guys are buying Gooder Sunglasses. I appreciate that. Our entire staff loves them. Dan Rubin, Patrick Murphy, Steve Hellwagon, the Dean, everybody loves them. Why Gooder? They are stylish sunglasses starting at only $25 a pair. No slip, no bounce, all polarized, all fun. 1-year warranty, and you get 30-day free returns if you're not satisfied. I imagine you will never have to use that, but it's there. If you want to support the show and try a pair, Gooder is giving Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/Bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for free shipping. It's pretty easy. Gooder offers 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/Bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for free shipping. I'm partial to Operation Blackout, so there you go. I would recommend getting more than one, though, especially with the free shipping and, very, 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 very well priced.
Before we Dave, talk about the championship contenders, I do want to address, there's somebody in the comments said we have selected memory regarding Larry Johnson rotating people several years ago. And I want to address that because I see that all the time. And you and I on this show, Dave, we've talked about that numerous times. Listen, it's not that people were complaining that Larry was rotating too many people 2 years ago. The complaint was that the situation awareness when guys were being rotated in was not where it needed to be. It was critical. Gotta have it. Get off the field. Best on best. We need the defense to stop. And what did you see? You saw Tyler Friday, Javonte Jean-Baptiste down on the goal line, and you had your alpha dogs out. It's not that people were complaining that he was rotating too much. It was, okay, you need to be more aware of where we're at when we got to get off the field. It's best on best instead of having, your second and your third string guys on there. That was the biggest complaint about Larry's rotation. It was awareness, not how much he was actually rotating guys.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. Yeah, I do remember that in the Georgia games, especially. I almost forgot about using Tyler Friday. Not that he was a really nice young man,
right.
But I almost forgot about that. You're right, number 54 out there in key situations. Like, what are you doing? All right, true national championship contenders. Not like, if they go on a Cinderella win, maybe or run, maybe they could possibly win. Teams that you think are legit national championship contenders. How many you got?
Give me Buckeyes. Give me Clemson. I'm not going to discount Georgia because of the talent.
I mean, Oregon or Clemson?
I'm sorry, Oregon. My bad. Oregon.
Yeah. Yep.
Oregon, Clemson's out there. Give me the Buckeyes. Give me Oregon. Give me Georgia. And I'm thinking about Georgia because of the talent. And Kirby has that way of kind of pushing those buttons. They've been on kind of a roller coaster. But we know that giving them a couple weeks to prepare and Kirby starts running state media TV saying that everybody and their mom thinks that they're going to lose the game, Georgia finds a way to come out and just absolutely throttle people like they did against Texas on the road. So that's my 3. Now, Texas has a very good offensive line, quarterback play has been kind of shaky. They just lost a wide receiver who quit the team this week. I don't know. What do you think about Texas, Dave?
I don't think they're that good. I mean, I think they were propped up because everybody thought Michigan was good. Was Michigan a top 10 team when Texas went in there and smoked them just because they were coming off the national championship? I think so. But now we know Michigan is not good. They're 5-4,
Right.
about to be 5-5 probably tomorrow. Going to finish 6-6, I would imagine, because they'll probably beat Northwestern and lose to Ohio State. So, and then that's the thing about Georgia. Georgia looked good against Texas, but how good is Texas?
Right.
I don't know.
I
think
mean, but
they're
each
they're a
team
legit playoff team. I don't think I would ever bet any amount of money on, even if whatever odds you gave me in my favor. I wouldn't bet on Texas to win the national championship.
I say three legitimate, but I say that with the back of my mind that there's so much parity this year. There's not really an overwhelming dominant team. Like every team has their own flaws that they had to deal with. Clemson better watch out. I think they lost one of their top wide receivers for a while with a collarbone, so they're starting to knock on the door of getting a little worried about their skill position guys. So I would say three for now. But the thing about the playoff, which is going to be so fascinating, Dave, it's going to be about health, and it's going to be about who's the deepest team. Because you look at the BYU's or somebody, they're good for an upset, one upset. But can they win 3 games to win a national championship? I don't think they have the roster to do it. I think the Buckeyes, Georgia, and Oregon, those are the 3 teams that I think are legitimate rosters. And now it's going to be fascinating because it could be some elimination type games coming up. LSU, Alabama this week. That's an elimination game. When you look at Alabama's roster, you know that there's talent there. If they can play, if Jalen Milroe can play at his highest level, they're a tough out. But they're so inconsistent, you can't hang your hat on Alabama. But the SEC, I think we're in for some moaning and some crying coming up in these next several weeks, Dave, because I truly believe you're going to get 4 Big Ten teams in the championship, and the SEC they're on the brink of potentially cannibalizing each other. And worst case scenario, you're going to get an SEC winner who's going to get a first round bye, and the rest of those guys might be on the road playing in Big Ten country, Dave. Think about that. I mean, you probably, if Ole Miss wins this game against Georgia, Ole Miss has a very good chance of winning out. But that game is probably going to be on the road somewhere up north. So you're going to be forcing a lot of these Southern teams to be crossing the Mason-Dixon line in December, which is going to be so fascinating to see, Dave.
Great stuff as always from Jonah Booker. Really appreciate it. Thank you to J Book. Thanks to all of you. You can join me tomorrow for what we learned live right after Ohio State Purdue. Thanks to J Book. Again, thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow, Bucknutters. Go Bucks.